The man in the street on strike. What comes into your mind when you hear the word strike? Is it a positive or a negative thing? Some people think that the strike is a scandal, not only a mistake, a disorder, or a misdemeanor, but a moral crime, an intolerable action, which in their eyes is an offense to nature. Certain readers of Le Figaro used words like inadmissible, scandalous, and revolting in a recent strike. The language dates from the Restoration, that was the period when the bourgeoisie, only recently in power, operated in a kind of crisis between morality and nature, giving the one the protection of the other. A strike seems first of all a challenge to the prescriptions of moralized reason. To strike is to defy the world. It affects those precisely who are not even concerned. Another thing, a strike's effect is very distant from its cause. Sometimes, what the strikers want to achieve does not really happen when they go to a strike. These are the reasons why a strike is always perceived as a scandalous phenomenon. The morality of the petit bourgeois is not magical, but rational. However, this rationality lacks the notion of complex functions, the imagination of a remote operation of determinisms, of a solidarity of events which the materialist tradition has systematized under the name of totality. There is a missing link to all this rationality, which makes it difficult for us to understand the casualty of a strike. A division of functions is somehow required for a strike's casualty to be justified. Since men are united, we can't expect to see a man versus man scenario, but rather a scenario of a striker versus an ordinary man. An ordinary man is also called the man in the street, whose conglomeration receives the innocent name of population. Why does a strike's effect escape from its cause? It is because bourgeoisie reason breaks the social circuit and demands for its own profit of a solitude, which is its strike's very function to deny. The strike protests against what is expressly addressed to it. Say, for example, there's a group of workers who want to have a salary increase, and the only way that they could do about it is to have a strike. Sometimes, the strike doesn't give the people what they really want. Instead of granting the salary increase, the head of the company might just threaten them, hurt them, or worse, fire them. In this example, we see that the striker and the man in the street are literally characters, actors promoted according to the needs of the cause. Since they don't get what they want and the strike just gives them an effect different from what they have expected, they are seen as actors with imaginary roles. Their mission is to preserve the essentialist separation of social selves, which we know was the first ideological principle of the bourgeois revolution. We rediscover here a constitutive feature of the reactionary mentality, which is to disperse the collectivity into individuals and the individuals into essences. Given that the people are just actors, it means that the entire community is just a big bourgeois theater that sets one person against another. It sets a striker against another man to constitute the world into a theater, to derive from the total man a special actor, and to oppose these arbitrary actors to each other in the lie of a symbolic structure which pretends to believe that the part is merely a perfect reduction of the whole. This leads to a general technique of mystification which consists in formalizing the social disorder as much as possible. How does this mystification happen? Let's go back to the workers who went to a strike to have a salary increase. Since they represent the totality of the workers, the rest of the people would think that all the other strikes that would eventually happen in the future is all about salary increase. The public services worker, the civil servant, will be abstracted from the working mass as if the entire salary status of these workers was somehow drawn to, fixed at, and subsequently sublimated in the very surface of their functions. This prejudiced reduction of the social condition makes it possible to dodge reality without abandoning the euphoric illusion of a direct casualty. Strikers are mystified because the other people would think that the reality of a strike only revolves around workers wanting to have a salary increase without even considering another reason in their minds. We are dealing with a new outbreak of essentialism. It is logical that, in the face of the lies of essence and of party, the strike should set in position the being and the truth of a totality. The strike signifies that man is total, that all his functions are connected with each other, that the roles of the actors are much too fragile to oppose the contagion of facts, and that in society, all are concerned by all. A strike is a work stoppage caused by the mass refusal of employees to perform work. A strike usually takes place in response to employee grievances. Strikes became important during the Industrial Revolution when mass labor became important in factories and mines. In most countries, they were quickly made illegal as factory owners had far more political power than workers. Most Western countries partially legalized striking in the late 19th or early 20th centuries. Strikes are sometimes used to put pressure on governments to change policies. Occasionally, strikes destabilize the rule of a particular political party. A notable example is the Gdansk shipyard strike led by Lech Walesa.